This video today was suggested to me by Max on Patreon, and the list was compiled with the help from my Patreons too. We're going to be talking about some of the dumbest reasons why somebody was eliminated on Drag Race. The reason that will be mentioned will range from being very specific to a little broader. Before we get into the 13 reasons why, I want to mention that more often than not, nobody on Drag Race is eliminated for one reason only. However, the reasons that will be listed are going to be the reasons that the show put the most focus on, which just makes each elimination ridiculous. For every reason, I will give an example and a little explanation, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, an example for each or some of the reasons. Also, would you add any reasons onto this list? If so, again, leave that in the comments below. The first one we're starting with is, you don't know who you are, so we're eliminating you. The example that I'm giving here is Laganja on Season 6. Laganja on Season 6, and we could say to this day, presented a very over-the-top character. However, it is a little ironic. Certain people, meaning the judges, that see you for only, let's say, 2 or 3 hours every day or every 2 days, think that they know you more than you know yourself. It doesn't make any sense, does it? On top of that, if Laganja actually did not have a fully formed personality, isn't it a little shitty that you're eliminating somebody exactly for that reason? It's like pointing a flaw in somebody and then punishing them for having that flaw and not helping them fix that flaw, if it is fixable, of course. Also, not knowing who you are is not a flaw. If you're a teenager, if you're in your early 20s, hell, whatever age you are, if you're not sure what you're doing, that's totally normal, especially if you're queer. The second entry on this list, and kind of an extension of the first one, is you're doing a character in drag, and that's bad. The example that I have here is BenDeLaCreme. This is more of a personal thing, but to me it makes more sense to have a character in drag, simply because I feel like relating your own self-confidence and even your own personality to something that takes a lot of makeup, clothes that you don't wear in general, a wig at times, and who knows what else you could do in drag, is dangerous territory, because then you can only tie your self-worth and self-confidence, of course, to an alter ego that you're only doing like a couple of times a week. Now, of course, drag was helpful to some trans people when it comes to them realizing their own identities and that being their only way of expression, but we're not talking about that. In that way, it can help. But in Daya's case, the fact that she was criticized for doing a character in drag, and similarly to Laganja not actually showing her personality, gets a little ridiculous, knowing that on All Stars 3, Daya dominated the competition by doing what? Creating characters in drag. It's basically the show contradicting itself. Rounding up the unholy trinity of RuPaul pretending that he's a psychologist reasons, we have the inner saboteur reason. Basically, RuPaul thinks that mental illness equals you having a voice in your head that stops you from achieving your full potential, and the only thing you need to do is tell that voice to stop. Honestly, RuPaul invented TikTok psychology. I don't know why you guys hate him so much. He's a trendsetter. Anyways, the best example for this has got to be Miss Cracker. Come to think of it, some other queens eliminated at the top 5 also got a version of the inner saboteur talk. Katya, for example, who was also told that she was addicted to anxiety. Good God, that's a bad take even for RuPaul. And Pandora Box, just to name a few. In Season 10's top 5 episode, when the queens were doing the Evil Twins challenge, the two queens who, throughout the season, talked about struggling with their mental healths in Miss Cracker and Cameron Michaels were up for elimination. They were criticized for not going hard enough on themselves in their voiceovers, meaning they did not insult themselves enough. Other queens also got the inner saboteur talk, but not all of them were eliminated because of it. Some queens get eliminated for wearing only one hair color that isn't blonde, like Max. Yeah, remember that? I did a whole video on the mistreatment of Max, but the gist of it is that Michelle Visage kept begging Max to wear non-grey wigs, for whatever reason. The other queens in the season often wore same colored wigs too, or even same styles of wigs, but nobody ever got critiqued as harsh as Max did. We know how much famous people are scared of getting or being perceived as old, so maybe that was Michelle's way of combating her own fears of becoming older. Max did not change his gray hair, and the show punished her for it. Oh wait, no, Max did wear different hair and then was eliminated. And then a few episodes later, when she wore a platinum blonde wig that was basically white, Michelle was thrilled. Seriously, getting worked up over a color? Which brings us to the fifth reason. You get eliminated if you're not black or white, but we can't say that's the reason, so we won't give any reasons at all. That was a horrible segue. I won't be going too much into this because I feel like we all know it. The show, as it is a show filmed in the United States, sees the world as black and white. So if you're anything but that, you're basically screwed. There are loads of examples of this, but just to name a few: Jessica Wilde, LaFille, pretty much every Native American queen, any foreigner who does also happen to be black or white, etc. Most of these queens don't get a spotlight on them during the episodes when they go home, which is kind of traditional in elimination-based reality shows, that you get some extra spotlight on you before you're off the season. And so we're basically given no explanation on these queens' eliminations because the show does not care about them. Drag Race is a TV show, and we've seen in the past couple of seasons that the producers have been very lazy, so they tend to overproduce certain queens and underproduce others. Compare any season of Drag Race from 1 to 8 to any season from 9 to 14. In the earlier seasons, everybody got some storyline, even the most background of queens and even the first eliminated queens. You might say, well, that's because there were less queens then. Well, sure, on season 1, but most earlier seasons have 12 or 13 queens. 1 or 2 more on these newer seasons that also usually have more episodes should not be a problem. Thus, we're here at the 6th reason. You're not over the top, and you're not giving the producers enough to work with. The example that I will give you may not be the best example, but I'm putting it here because of the fact that this person basically explained this reason and the next one to Rue in the workroom. Ariel, Versace. Just listen to this conversation.
I feel like there's a lot of personality over there and it might clash.
Who on the other team is problematic?
I think their team captain is a little problematic. She's very loud, she's a big personality, and I feel like at this point she's not gonna let anybody else on her team shine over her, so
Okay.
they might be in trouble.
Has anyone else on this team experienced that?
I think we've all experienced it, being in the workroom.
Yeah, she knows she's on TV and she's gonna get her moment, and
Right.
they're gonna see her.
So she's getting her TV time.
Like when we were in with Miley and she picked her up, she was on her back, like it was all her, and it's just a lot.
Wow. Are you all trying to one-up her in the attitude department?
No, I mean, no.
Well, you might want to think about it. You know.
I just think that there's a difference between having a strong personality and being obnoxious.
Yeah, she was right. As an extension of this reason, we also have the you don't have a storyline so you have to go even if you're doing well reason, with the best and maybe the most infuriating example being sugarcane. An extension of this that I think deserves its own entry is the you're not loud, thus you're boring reason. It's similar to the 6th reason, but this time it's straight up negatively portraying people that are not over the top. Aiden Zhane is a great example of someone who was quiet often and who got eliminated for not being over the top. Her elimination was also used as a prop in Heidi's storyline, Heidi seemingly being the only person that was nice to Aiden on that season. There were other queens who got the you're not loud so you're boring edits, like Cameron Michaels, Pearl, Orion Story, etc. Again, notice how it's mostly queens from the most recent seasons. One of the reasons why Max's elimination was very stupid is the fact that the queens on the show can only be in the things that they brought from home, so the things that they pre-planned to wear. With wigs, it is a little easier because you can always borrow a wig or dye your own, but when it comes to clothes, the only time you can bring something new into the competition is during design challenges. You didn't change up the style of the wardrobe that you brought and paid for during the season. I'm not talking about things like silhouettes here. By this point, you should know that you shouldn't wear the same silhouette over and over again. Nowadays, that shit does not fly. However, here I'm talking about instances like the one Vanjie had on season 11. Throughout the season, she constantly kept getting critiques on her looks. Pretty much all were brought from home. She can't magically change what she brought, that's not how it works. Vanjie was not eliminated because of this, but I wanted to mention this here because doing drag is expensive. Doing Drag Race is even more expensive, and only a few queens got to earn their money back after Drag Race. I think that there should be more design challenges on Drag Race, or, and hear me out, Drag Race should hire people that can make clothes in cases when queens want to change up their looks. Speaking of changing up looks, It's makeover time, so anything goes. I've been beating this dead horse for almost 5 years now, but I will not stop. The makeover challenge on Drag Race in theory should be really good, but it's always terrible. Most queens eliminated in this challenge gets nonsense critiques, the judging is never consistent, and it's the wildcard challenge in a way, because then the producers can eliminate whomever they want. The makeover challenge is also nonsense because the fat queens, or the fat partners at least, always get the shortest end of the stick. But I don't think y'all are ready for that conversation. The extension of this is any queen that has a clear shtick going home on a makeover/branding challenge episode, and the judges are all of a sudden tired of seeing it, like Tina Burner and Dakota Schiffer. Alright, I am cheating a little with this next one. It's the "you did not listen to the critiques we gave you when you sat in Untucked 2 weeks ago and could not hear us," specifically given to Utica. It's just one of the dumbest things that's ever happened in the show. The judges never told Utica not to be what, Violet? What the Thank you, like that on stage. But then they did not give her a win when she very much so deserved it, because she did not change her runway presentation that they did not tell her to change. There probably is somebody else who fits this better, especially somebody who was eliminated because of it, but Utica's case was the most recent and probably the dumbest one. Drag Race casts its queens based on their audition tapes. In the said audition tapes, the queens have to show who they are, their drag styles, outfits, performing style, etc. So riddle me this. How are you going to eliminate somebody because of their signature makeup or just something signature that's their brand? Honestly, all of roads lead to Max, but the most recent example of somebody being eliminated on Drag Race because of this is Daya. They drilled her ass for her makeup because it looked too much like Crystal Methods. Yeah, they're in the same drag family. They're only comparing it to Crystal because they saw it on her first. RuPaul probably was not over Crystal yet. Why take it out on Daya? Also, this kind of stuff is never told to conventionally looking drag queens and drag styles. Drag Race is okay with drag when it only resembles hypersexualized femininity, but ironically, women on Drag Race are rare, so you can only escape this critique if you're a man transforming himself into a woman through the male gaze. Every person eliminated because of a horrible script in an acting challenge. No, that's it, that's the entry. Next one, and the last one, is something that would not fly today whatsoever. In season 6's Rusical episode, the queens all got to be a certain archetype of a drag queen. The comedy queen, the pageant queen, Katya, and then the big girl? Didn't know that being fat is a style of drag. You live and you learn. Carrion, long overdue for an all-star appearance, was eliminated because she did not personify the big girl in that Rusical. Sure, she also sounded like shit, but most of her critiques were about her, a thin person, not personifying a fat person. Make it make sense. Before we end this video, I do have one more example.
One of these queens is the person who lent me this very shirt that I'm wearing tonight. So based on that, I've chosen Tatiana.
And that's it. That's the video. I want to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting me still on there and for, of course, helping with this video. When I create my other channel, the videos for it will also be able to be viewed earlier on Patreon, so if you want to still follow me after I slaughter this bitch, you know what to do. Thank you for watching, and Happy New Year!